All right, what's going on, guys? My name is Alex, and we're going to do my All NBA selections for the season. Now, I got to be honest, this was really hard for me. There was a couple guys that I really wanted to put in there because I think they've had some incredible seasons. However, a lot of these stars have faced a lot of injuries. So, because of that, I had to put a cap on how many games you had to play in order to make this list. And for that, I went with 58 games. 58 games would get you just above 70% of the season. So, in my opinion, if you are missing about 24 games of the regular season, you just shouldn't be able to qualify for an All NBA selection. So, because of that, we are going to see some pretty big names. For example, Steph Curry, he's not going to be able to make it. He's going to be 2 games shy. Same thing as Paul George. Also, LeBron. They just missed too many games, man. And I would love to put them on this list because I think they would probably have a spot. But again, they just haven't played enough games. So with that out of the way, those are really all my requirements. Obviously, you also have to win games and you have to put up great stats. So we'll get to that eventually when we go through the list. But we're going to get started here. You'll see this trash tier. Now, that I'm not saying these players are trash. I just found a random tier list maker. These players were on here. These guys just aren't good enough to make the list, so I put them in the trash tier. Now we're going to start off with our snubs here. So again, I talked about Steph Curry. He just hasn't played that many games. Trae Young, I think he will end up playing enough games, but there's just so many great guards this season. And Trae Young has also had a down year, so I just don't think he makes it. James Harden is another guy who I think is very deserving, but I just think there are better guards who have been playing better and had more of an impact on their team to winning. Harden is the second best player on his own team, so I think that kind of hurts him a little bit. But I really did want to put Harden in here. Trust me, I really did. Jalen Brunson, I would definitely put Harden in before Jalen Brunson, but again, there's just so many great guards. Shout out to Jalen Brunson, though. I think he's been playing incredibly well. Devin Booker, he just hasn't played enough games. Kyrie Irving, again, I just think there are better guards, and I actually don't know if he will hit the game threshold. Paul George, again, he just got injured. He's going to be out for another 2 to 3 weeks. And even if he did play the rest of the season, he still wouldn't have made it. So again, he's just going to be snubbed. Anthony Edwards, there's just other better guards in the West. I'm sorry. Kawhi Leonard, again, will not play enough games. DeMar DeRozan, I honestly, I should have put him in the trash tier. I just don't think he's good enough, especially when there's other forwards who I think are better than him. But he was in that conversation just because of the injuries. Lauri Markkanen is another guy. He is borderline, and I will say who he's borderline with later. I think he definitely had a chance to be in the All-NBA third team, but in my opinion, I just think there's a better player than him. So for that reason, it's why I put them over. But again, we'll get to it in a second. Kevin Durant, he's not going to play enough games. LeBron, same thing as well. Those are 2 guys that I wanted to put on this All-NBA team, and I just couldn't. And I had to put other players that I didn't want to put in there. And again, we'll get to that again eventually. Anthony Davis, again, he's not going to play enough games. I think he would have made it as well. And for our last snub, we have Bam Adebayo. The thing that really sucks, I think you could also make the argument that he could be in the All-NBA third team. But again, I just think there is a better player, and it's very slightly. I'm still kind of flip-flopping on it. I might change my mind in a second. But now we have 15 names left, and there's 5 players for each All-NBA team. So we'll get started, and we're going to go with the All-NBA first team. We're going to make it easy. We'll go with Luka. We also have Donovan Mitchell for All-NBA first team. Jason Tatum, All-NBA. Giannis. And it's between Jokic or Embiid. And in my opinion, the entire season, majority of the season, it's just been Jokic. So with Luka Doncic, obviously, we all know how great he is offensively. He puts up the stats. He actually is really close to not making the games played threshold. He's missed a lot of time. But he did make it already, and there's still, like less than 10 games left, so he would have just barely made it. But shout out Luka, though. He's top 5 player in the league. Donovan Mitchell, I'm actually very surprised to see him in the All-NBA first team. It's not something that I would have foreseen, especially in the beginning of the season. But the Cavs have been absolutely great. Donovan Mitchell has been better than advertised, again, based off what we expected in the beginning of the season. And he, all season, has been a 28, 29, 30 point per game scorer. I know it dipped down a little bit. Like in the beginning of the season, he was absolutely going off. But Donovan Mitchell has been absolutely fantastic. Jason Tatum, Giannis, and Jokic, these guys have been a part of the MVP race the entire year. I think Jason Tatum has fallen off a cliff a little bit. He's playing a really bad stretch of games so far past All-Star break. But Giannis and Jokic, those guys, in my opinion, are 1 and 2 in the MVP race, so they pretty much have to be here. Moving on to the All-NBA second team, and we're going to have Damian Lillard, which is the guy who I actually didn't think was going to make it. We have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jaylen Brown, we have Jimmy Butler, and then we have Joel Embiid. So quickly with Joel Embiid, if he wasn't All NBA first team, he had to be All NBA second team. So we're just gonna keep him there. There's no debate about that. Hopefully, at least if you're debating with me, I think you might just be dumb. Damian Lillard, again, I didn't think he was gonna be able to play enough games, especially with the amount of games he missed in the first half of the season. But he has played majority of the season at this point. And Damian Lillard, I think you could make the argument he does belong in the All NBA first team. You would probably want to switch him out with Donovan Mitchell. But in my opinion, Donovan Mitchell has played way more games than Damian Lillard. The Cavs have also won a lot of games. At this point, I don't even think the Blazers are going to make the play-in tournament. So I think that does knock Damian Lillard down a little bit, despite the injuries and maybe lack of talent on that roster. In my opinion, if you wanted to be in that All-NBA first team, there's got to be a little bit of team success. You might be able to make the argument that maybe you switch him out with Luka, because Luka hasn't really won that many games. But again, the West is really tight, and Luka could very well still be in the 5th seed, even if today they might be the 8th seed or the 9th seed. So honestly, I don't really hold that against Luka. The West is just really tight. And even with the West really being tight, Damian Lillard still couldn't be in the mix. So I just think Damian Lillard's got to be in the 2nd spot. Shout out to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I think that the Thunder are currently around the 6th, 7th, or 8th seed. I know for a fact, and no one predicted that. I know I didn't. They could very well make the playoffs. They can make it through the play-in, or they might even just stay in the 6th seed. Again, the West is super tight, so I think SGA just deserves to be at this number 2 spot. You might be able to make a debate with Donovan Mitchell. I think it'd be really close, but personally, I'm just going to lean more towards Donovan Mitchell. And Jaylen Brown and Jimmy Butler, I think these guys have also been playing fantastic. The Heat have not been great this season, but they are above 500, so I think that is deserving of at least one All-NBA player. And in my opinion, Jimmy Butler is just the best player on that team, so I think he would get in over Bam. But then we have Jaylen Brown for our last spot, and Jaylen Brown, 27 points per game as the 2nd guy on your team, to me is really impressive. The Celtics have by far been one of the best teams in the NBA all season long. He's been very consistent, and I just think he deserves to be here. And now we're at the All-NBA 3rd team, and you guys see the players at the bottom, so I think you can already figure out who's going to be in here. We have Ja Morant, De'Aaron Fox, Julius Randle, Pascal Siakam, and Domantas Sabonis. So again, Sabonis is the guy that I did choose over Bam. Again, I think you can flip-flop on this one, but I just don't think the Heat deserve 2 All-NBA players. So that's really the main reason why I don't think Bam made it over Sabonis, in my opinion. Even though I think at a lot of times, I think I might prefer Bam as a player. The Heat have just not played well enough for me to think that they deserve 2 All-NBA players, especially one that's in the 2nd All-NBA team and then the 3rd. With the Kings, I have Fox and Sabonis. In my opinion, they've deserved to have 2 All-NBA players. Again, no one expected the Kings to be good this season, and they are, the 2nd or 3rd seed in the West, so I think they have to have 2 All-Stars. And in my opinion, De'Aaron Fox is the best player on the Kings, but Sabonis is also one of the most important players on that team, because ever since he's been added, he's actually, I think, made the game a lot easier for Fox. Fox has definitely been more efficient as a player this season. I think that has to do with Sabonis and being able to be a nice dribble handoff guy. So I think those 2 guys definitely deserve to be on the All-NBA team together. Pascal Siakam, this is a guy who I thought it's just a better player than Lauri Markkanen. I think you could also make an argument that Lauri might be able to get over Pascal Siakam. The Raptors and the Jazz virtually have the same record. Their stats are very similar. Lauri Markkanen is more efficient, but in my opinion, Pascal is just the better playmaker and defender, and he's still able to score pretty well. And there hasn't really been, the spacing on the Raptors is not good. So I think when the spacing is good enough for Pascal Siakam, I think his efficiency numbers would rise. So I'm not really too worried about his efficiency. It isn't even that bad. It's just not as good as Lauri Markkanen. So I just think Pascal is the better player, and the winning doesn't really move me, because again, they have the same record. So I would have Pascal over Lauri. Julius Randle is a guy I did not want to put on this list. He is averaging like 25, 10, and 5, and pretty solid efficiency this season. Definitely a step up from last year. But again, I would have much rather put a guy like KD or LeBron, but they just didn't play enough games. So Julius Randle is going to make his 2nd All-NBA team. Talk about De'Aaron Fox and Ja Morant. Ja Morant, I think, has fallen down a cliff a little bit this year. His percentages just haven't been as good. He hasn't been able to finish around the rim as well as maybe we'd hope and what he's been doing in the past couple of seasons. So he has fallen down a little bit, but he has still played really well. The Grizzlies have still won games. They are a really deep team. Even when Ja Morant was out with all the drama that he was going through, they were still winning games. So maybe that impacts how valuable he truly is. But I just don't think Ja Morant has played better than SGA or Dame. So I think he just has to go in this third team. And in my opinion, I think Ja Morant and De'Aaron Fox are kind of on the same tier at this point. Obviously, you can go back even last season and you may say, oh, De'Aaron Fox is nowhere close. But now that De'Aaron Fox actually has a solid offensive team around him, I think you can actually see his true potential. And in my opinion, De'Aaron Fox is on that same tier as Ja Morant. And you guys may not like that one, but I think they're definitely on the same tier. And I think Shea has definitely taken that step up. And we know what Damian Lillard's capable of. Dame has a chance to be All NBA first team. So you can't tell me Ja Morant is on that same tier as well. But there we have it. Those are my All NBA selections. Let me know down below if you guys agree or disagree. Do you think I should move some players? Do you think the snubs should, take over a spot? Again, just let me know. If you enjoyed, make sure you like and sub. Check out my socials down below in the description. You can check out this video somewhere on the screen where I talk about the Milwaukee Bucks and how they could win the championship just based off their defense alone. Anyway, I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.